Hello everyone. I welcome you all to my first YouTube video on my own YouTube channel Prerayati. So this video is regarding the 40 days prelims revision strategy that you need to follow to make optimum utilization of the remaining 40 days to crack the preliminary examination Civil Services 2020. So at the outset, let me first introduce myself. I am Kruthika and I have secured rank 194 in the Civil Service Exam 2017 and also rank 100 in the Civil Service Exam 2018. And I have also been one of the top scorers in the general studies, and I have scored 443 marks in the total of all the GS papers. And particularly with respect to the GS4 paper, I have been one of the toppers with 121 as my score. And I have given all my 6 attempts and in the preliminary exam, and I have given 5 mains and also 4 interviews. So because I had this rich experience about the UPSC exam, during my preparation also giving 6 attempts and spending 7 years at the UPSC exam hasn't been very easy journey for me. There have been several ups and downs, success and failure, so pushing myself through and keeping myself motivated through this tough journey. And I know that many of you out there are also going through the same journey. So as an aspirant, I would always look out for motivation, and also by motivating others, I would end up getting that motivation. So taking the cue from there, I wanted to start something whereby I could motivate others. So this is the purpose of starting Prerayati. Prerayati in Sanskrit means one which motivates. So I want to be able to help the aspirants in their journey to crack the civil services examination through sharing my knowledge and experiences and various do's and don'ts with respect to the exam. And because I had this drive to be able to contribute something to the aspirant community, nearly 4.5 months before I started the ICAN initiative on the Insights IAS YouTube channel, where I have been giving daily news analysis from the Hindu and the Indian Express. So through that, I have been able to reach a lot of students, and I get a lot of messages, wonderful messages from students all across India, even from the remote areas of Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir. So all of these messages from the students have been extremely inspiring and motivating to me, and they have been conveying their best wishes for me. And for this one reason, I would like to thank the Insights IAS platform and Vinay sir for giving me that platform to be able to reach out to many of you. So through Prerayati, what I want to do is to be able to reach to as many aspirants as possible, to share my experiences and knowledge about the do's and don'ts of exam and every single important relevant thing that is important for cracking this particular exam and emerging a success and also securing a very good rank in this exam. So with this intention, I have started this, and this is the first video on the 40 days strategy and timetable which I personally followed to clear my preliminary exam. So go through this strategy and timetable, and I'm sure definitely prelims will be a very easy nut to crack to all of you. Thank you. So now let's start with the 40 days plan, revision plan for your prelims. So when we are talking about the 40 days plan, the most important thing to remember is that this 40 days, you have to make the maximum use of it. So while deciding to make the maximum use of the remaining 40 days to give your best shot at the prelims, we also need to keep in mind some practicalities which are very important to consider while you make your revision strategy. So that will make it more implementable and practical. First of all, we should know we have how many subjects at our hand, what is the time availability, what are the other constraints that are there. So when we talk of the 40 days, and we have 8 subjects that we need to complete in these 40 days. We have geography, environment, polity, ecology, history, culture, science and technology, and current affairs being considered as a separate subject so that we don't end up neglecting current affairs. So when we finally know that we have 40 days and we have 8 subjects to deal with, let's understand some of the basics that we need to ensure. So we need to be very clear about few basics. First is, in the 24 hours time period, we need to sleep for at least 6 hours. So 6 hours is a sleeping period, And the next important thing is to ensure that between the study times, between the different stretches to study, we need to ensure we have sufficient breaks, because our memory also takes time to consolidate things. So therefore it's very important to give adequate breaks between the studies. Then studying, of course, is the most important thing that we need to do in this span of time. And we also need to ensure that we eat a very healthy, balanced nutrition diet, so that all the body, the spirit, everything, the soul is kept in the right spirit, so that we are completely ready for the exam. So now, keeping these basics in mind, I will share with you the timetable that I usually followed with 40 days remaining for prelims. So this is the timetable that I have always followed, and it has given me consistent results. And it is also a balanced timetable which neither overloads you nor does it reduces that spirit in you. It keeps you the fire going, that keeps going in you. At the same time, you are taking care of all the practical constraints that you face. So my day would start at sharp 6 a.m. in the morning. So when I would start my day, I would get up at 6 o'clock, and once I get up at 6 o'clock, I would do 1 hour yoga or breathing exercises, and I would start my day at 7 o'clock to studies. So from 7 to 9 was my first sitting. And this was the time of the day when you feel the most fresh, and you can take up those subjects which you feel either is very difficult or is probably more boring to you. So that can be taken up at this time of the day, because your mind is very active and is ready to grasp and absorb things. So 7 to 9 was my first sitting usually. So from 9 to 10, I would take bath, have breakfast, relax a bit, listen to 1 or 2 motivational songs to keep me charged. And then I would go for a sitting between 9 and 1. This was the first sitting that I would do for 3 hours stretch. Now here I would like to tell you one more thing, that we are usually habituated to taking breaks after every 1 hour. So we study for 1 hour and then we go for a 5 or 10 minutes break. So that is also good, but then I would urge you to sit for at least 2 hours continuously without taking breaks. This is important because now that prelims is approaching, your exams are of 2 hours each. The 2 papers of CSAT and the GS are of 2 hours each. And for those of you who are seriously giving the attempt this year, mains is also not very far off. In mains, you will have to be focusing at once for a stretch of 3 hours. So you need to give training to your brain so that it is able to focus continuously without any wavering for a period of at least 3 hours at a stretch. So that doesn't and cannot happen just on the day of the exam. You need to train your brain accordingly by preparing your brain for that. So it's important that you practice sitting for longer duration so that your brain gets trained to be able to focus for a longer duration of time. So I used to do the first sitting from 9 to 1, and then from 1 to 2 would be the lunch and a little bit of relaxation, and the second sitting would be from 2 to 5, again of 3 hours. So after 2 to 5 o'clock, some snacks time, and then you may want to go for a walk or something. So come back at 6 to 9 was my third sitting. So after 9, I would have dinner and I would talk to my family for some time, and then from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock was my last sitting of the day. So if you see, I'm getting up at 6 o'clock and I'm sleeping at 12 o'clock. So 6 hours of sleep. So therefore you can see that 6 hours of sleep, which is like the minimum number of hours that we need to properly rest. I'm not compromising on sleep also, because I have seen many students who would sleep for just 3-4 hours a day for like a couple of days, and then one day they crash. So then they end up sleeping the entire day. So you need to keep this cycle more consistent and more sustainable for yourself. So I'm not compromising here on my sleep also. I'm giving my body a good sound 6 hours of sleep. At the same time, I'm pulling off 13 hours a day of study. So some of you are you probably used to even studying for say 16 hours a day, 15 hours a day. But it was not possible for me, and nor would I advise the same to you, that is to go for 16 hours a day, because 10 hours is the average and the maximum that you can clock is 13 to 14 hours. After that, whatever you study, trust me, it just goes above your head And even if you feel you are understanding, you are not really understanding, and you will have to come back to those topics again and you'll have to reread them. So because your human brain also has a capacity to withstand up to a certain limit. So 16 hours a day becomes too much, and again it is not sustainable. After a couple of days it won't be sustainable. So this 13 hours a day consistently for 40 days is more than enough to clear your prelims exam with very comfortable margin. So this was my break, how I broke the timings during the day. So in this 13 hours, further I would break it down into different subjects that I want to do in a particular day. So now let us see. Now what we saw was how my entire day was divided into different time shots, where different sittings I would do to study. And then the next task that is very important is how to divide this 13 hours between subjects. So now let's go to this. So when we talk of the 13 hours, 1 hour is specifically meant for CSAT. Why I advise you to keep focus on CSAT is because many times it has happened for me that I come out of the exam hall after the CSAT paper, and when I call my friends, the first thing that I tell them was my GS paper has gone well, so I might clear. I will definitely clear probably, but because of CSAT, maybe I wouldn't be clearing prelims. And as soon as I go home and as soon as the answer keys start coming, so I would keep looking for the CSAT answer key so that I check that first, because I always had that doubt that I may not clear CSAT. This is because of the poor attention that we end up giving to CSAT, thinking that it is just of a qualifying nature and it just needs to be brushed, while major time needs to be given to GS preparation. That is true, but UPSC has made the CSAT paper more difficult. So it is kind of become more easier to fail the CSAT paper. So don't take it very lightly. At least give 1 hour a day for at least when the 30 days are remaining for the exam. Make it a point that you give 1 hour a day for CSAT. So CSAT 1 hour is gone. We have 12 hours remaining. In these 12 hours, I would take up 2 subjects a day. So this is what I did. The reason behind taking up 2 subjects a day is, firstly, it will break the monotony. It is not possible for me to study one subject for the entire day, because it keeps me interested for like maybe 6 to 8 hours a day. But after that, it feels very monotonous to keep reading the same subject, same kind of stuff that you keep reading for 13 hours. That is very difficult. So I used to make a combination of 2 subjects per day, and I would sit for 3 hours with each of these subjects. So the first 3 hours would be for one subject, next 3 hours would be for the second subject, next 4 hours would be to solve a new question paper, and next 2 hours to revise the previously solved question papers. See, with just 40 days remaining, many of you must have already solved a couple of test papers, whichever test series you would have joined. So all those papers, it is very important to consolidate and revise. Otherwise, no matter how many test papers, test series you solve, how many MCQs you solve, it doesn't really help if you don't consolidate your learnings and if you don't revise them multiple times. So with 40 days remaining, each day you need to keep some time for revising your previously solved test papers, apart from the time that you allocate for solving fresh tests. So 4 hours for the fresh test, 2 hours to revise the previously solved MCQs or the test series papers, and 3 hours each for the 2 subjects that I select in a day. So now let us see the timetable that we are going to follow till we reach the date. So from 24th August, if today is 23rd, it is Sunday, and if we start from tomorrow, which is 24th August, so from 24th till 2nd of October, we have 40 days in hand. So this 40 days we need to make the maximum use. If we start from 24th till 27, that is 4 days, and 4 days, 3 hours per day for one subject, which is 12 hours. So 12 hours for one subject is more than enough to revise, given that you have already read and you are already clear about your basics, and now is the time to start revising the concepts and not reading anything new and fresh. So first I used to this combination I followed across years. How many? I have given 6 prelims, in which I have cleared 5 prelims, and as I said, each of the time I have cleared at a very comfortable margin, clearing forest exam also each of the time. So I used to go with this combination of subjects every time, and there is a reason why I did so. And when I take up geography and history, this combination, it has to be based on some basis, whether maybe one subject is difficult for you and another subject is easy, one subject is interesting and the other subject is boring, one subject is more dynamic and the other being very static, one subject is tough and the other subject is relatively okay. So based on these various criteria, you have to go for this combination. So the reason I always took up geography with history is because one, history was very interesting to me, but geography was more technical and it was kind of boring for me. That is first reason. Second is I was very good at history. So I really enjoyed reading history and I was already good at it, but geography I needed to put more attention. So therefore I made a thoughtful combination of these two subjects of geography and history. So geography and history were the two subjects that I would study from 24 to 27, and for the next 4 hours I would solve the tests, a fresh test which I haven't solved before, and then for the next 2 hours I am going to revise the previously solved tests. And one more thing that I would like to point here is whenever you are solving the fresh tests as part of your this slot, make sure that you solve some tests related to geography and history, because that will help you evaluate whether you are revising properly, how far is your preparation on track, how far do you remember things, how far are you able to apply your knowledge to solve the MCQs. So this will help you to test that. So revise geography and history and then try to attempt tests which are on geography and history. And here again, one more thing that I would like to stress is usually in history we have ancient, medieval and modern history. Modern history all of us are comfortable with because we read it even for our mains, so we would have revised it multiple times, and mostly the facts and the chronology is there in our mind. But ancient and medieval history is something which usually goes neglected. For mains perspective, we study the ancient and the medieval history from an art and culture point of view, but not from the history point of view. But also again, ancient and medieval history is firstly very vast and very voluminous. You don't know what to read, what to skip. And secondly, the kind of questions that come from ancient and medieval history are very vague, and even after reading, going through the basics, it is possible that you may not be able to answer the question that comes in the exam. So what I'm trying to tell is the efforts that you might put to mug up so many things in ancient and medieval history may not even bear any fruit in the prelims. So always be very wise when you read something. Think about the return on investment that it is going to give you. So if I'm investing 10 days on ancient and medieval history and 2 or 3 questions come from that subject in which again you do not know 2 answers, so the 10 days that you would have invested to read ancient and medieval history will go waste. So therefore you should always think about the return on investment whenever you are investing time to study anything. So I would personally not read much of ancient and medieval history. Rather, I would try to cover ancient and medieval history by attempting a lot of sectional tests. So whichever test series you would have taken up, definitely they would have some sectional tests. So I would take up a lot of sectional tests from ancient and medieval history so that I am able to cover too many areas in ancient and medieval history and not be just struck with 1 or 2 areas by thoroughly reading everything from the textbook. So this is how you smartly cover ancient and medieval history without ending up investing too much of time in these subjects. So when you are solving the fresh tests, make sure that you also solve some sectional tests on ancient and medieval history so that that portion of your history doesn't go neglected. At the same time, you are exposed to a wide variety of questions on ancient and medieval history that you are able to somehow manage to answer in the prelims exam. So the next 2 hours would go for revision. So by this way, by 27th August, you will be completing geography and history. Then we will take up next 4 days and again 2 more subjects. So this case I chose polity and environment. So the reason why I chose polity and environment is polity is something that I was comfortable with because public administration was my optional. So I already knew a lot of polity. Secondly, the reason why I chose along with polity, which is supposed to be an easy subject for me, I chose environment because environment has become a very diverse subject. So there is no one fixed study material in the market which you can just select, pick up and then go through the entire book and you can say that I'm done with environment. So that is not how the questions from environment are coming up. And also, ever since UPSC has combined the civils and the forest prelims, you can expect that the environment related questions are going to be more diverse and you may also have more number of questions from environment. So it's very important when you talk of environment to go through wide variety of sources, particularly the authentic sources like the Ministry of Environment and Forest site, the IUCN site, the UNEP site. So these are the various authentic sites which you can go through to collect a lot of information on which questions may come in the exam. So therefore environment is a very ambiguous and amorphous and a diverse dynamic subject. So that is why I made a combination of these two subjects. So then again in the test also I would focus more on environment because as I said, most of the areas of the environment will again get covered through the diverse test series, the diverse set of MCQs that you solve. Because for polity, more or less the MCQs are more predictable. So they are more direct. You know it, you answer it. But for environment, it is not like that. Polity, we have good standard sources which we read multiple times and we are able to answer. But environment is not like that. So focus on the environment related tests. But yes, of course, do solve polity and try to evaluate yourself by solving these tests, whether you are on track with respect to revising your polity and environment. And again, continue revising your the previously solved test for the next 2 hours. So this is what I do till 31st of August. And by 31st of August, I am done revising 4 big subjects. So now I'll start from 1st September. So from 1st September to 4th September, I'm going to take up economy and culture. And the reason for combining these two is economy is more direct. So it is more technical, but culture is more creative and more imaginative. So I would enjoy reading culture, but economy is like you need to really focus hard on that. So some of the concepts are difficult or tricky to understand. So that's why I made a combination of these two subjects. And again, you need to follow the same procedure that solve tests based on economy and culture so that you are able to evaluate whether you are revising properly and then go on with your revision of the previously solved tests. So therefore by 4th September I am done revising 6 subjects out of the 8 subjects. Next is from 5th September to 8th September I am revising current affairs and science and technology. And the best way to again revise science and technology is by solving more and more tests. Because science and technology is also one such subject where the conventional questions are not coming in the exam. So even if you're studying the NCERTs for science and technology from 6th to 12th, there is hardly any question in the exam. Because the exam questions are mostly focused on the current evolving technologies. So it is something like that apart from the basics. So therefore, and good exposure to such questions will come through by solving as many MCQs as possible on science and technology. So the best time to do that is to 4 hours a day. So 4 4s are 16 hours you're getting, which you can utilize the maximum to solve maximum number of MCQs on current affairs and SNT. Even current affairs is such that it is very important to give a lot of attention to current affairs, because once we say prelims exam is nearing, then people will stop reading newspapers, they will stop following the news. But it is not so the case, because some things from current events will just come out as an option and one of the options in the mains exam, and that information will really help you a lot to eliminate the wrong answer. Because at the end of the day, we must remember that in prelims, it is never about finding the right answer. It is always about eliminating the wrong answers to arrive at the right answer. So therefore, by 8th of September, I am done with current affairs and science and technology as well. So that means by 8th September, I am done with my first revision. Next is on 9th and 10th September, I am going to use this time to solve some additional tests, full length tests if I so feel like, and I'm also going to solve some sectional tests on those areas which I think I'm weak. as I said about the ancient and medieval history. Similarly, art and culture is another area where no matter how much you study, you may end up getting something new. And I might simultaneously focus on mapping. So mapping again is very important. So you need to keep browsing through the atlas, take up one continent per day, spend 15 minutes a day to go through that continents and locate the various important features of that continent. So like that, spend a week to cover all the continents and other important areas, the straits, the mountain ranges and all that. So this mapping is very important, and these 2 days I will use it to complete what has remained incomplete in my first round of revision, maybe solve some additional tests and some sectional tests in areas where I'm weak, and also focus a little bit on mapping in geography. So this is what I would do on 9th and 10th September, and from 11th September starts my second revision. So by 10th September you're done with your first revision, and also now you're ready to start with your second revision. So in the second revision from 11th to 20th September, so here you are going to revise every day. You will be revising one subject, one day. This is going to be your strategy in between 11th September to 20th September. So either you can revise one subject one day, and in the remaining 2 days you are going to revise your tests that you have solved. Or if you're taking up one subject one day, in that one day try to finish the tests related to that subject. So if you're taking up geography, then try to solve all the geography related questions, tests that you have solved that day itself. So this way, by 20th September you are going to finish your second revision. So by 20th September you're done with your second revision. First revision you gave good amount of let's say 15 days, 14 days for your first revision. For second revision you are giving 10 days, and now from now on the amount of time that you take for each revision is going to further reduce. So your third and fourth revision you are going to complete from 21st September till 28th September. You are going to complete your third revision, and from 29th September till 1st October you are going to complete your fourth revision. So in your third revision you are going to get 1 day for one subject, and from 29th to 20th October, 1st October you are getting 3 days. In these 3 days you are going to complete your revision of all the subjects again. So like this you have completed 4 revision. And I cannot stress enough how much important multiple revisions are going to be in your prelims. So therefore you have completed 4 revisions thoroughly, and which is very important for your prelims. You have not just completed 4 multiple revisions, you have also revised your tests that you have solved. It so happens that we keep solving MCQs till the end, and then we realize that we have not revised the tests that we have solved. So this should never be the case with you. So as and when you start revising your static portions, your static books, start revising your tests that you have already given till date. So that is very important. Also, one more thing that I want to share is, whenever you are solving any fresh tests, so by now many of you would have already solved so many tests, but whenever you are solving a fresh test, don't just take the test paper, the prelims test paper which has 100 questions, and then mark it there only and write the explanation there only. If you do that, you will have a huge, very bulky material by the end of the time you stop solving all the tests. You will have a very bulky material to revise. Rather, whatever is important, whatever you didn't know, whatever was new for a particular subject, make different files and then you copy that particular content to that file. So if you are talking about 8 subjects, you may have 8 Word documents into which you will be copying the important information from the test series and its explanation that you do not know, you were not aware of, and you want to keep it in mind, that is relevant and important for the exam. All of that subject wise should be copied to the respective Word documents, so that whenever you are doing this 1 day, 1 subject plan, so in that you must be able to revise not just the static content of the subject from your standard books, but also that one single Word document into which you have pasted all the important information that you have collected from solving so many test series. So I'll just show you a glimpse how I maintained it. So for example, this is for culture. So from all the tests, whatever important information that I collected, I made a note of that in a single document. So similarly, this one I made for economy. So this is how I made notes, that I kept separate documents, and in each of these documents I pasted the important information that I collected from solving various test series. So like that I used to maintain 8 different Word documents. And also this again is for environment, that I maintained separate document, and this one is for geography. So like that, for each of the subjects I used to maintain separate documents. And by the end of the let's say when it is just say 1 month or 20 days to the final exam, I would take a printout of all these Word documents and then put them together. So you can see a glimpse of these different files, different booklets that I maintain for each of the tests. So each booklet I would revise when I revise the corresponding static portion. So that way, in a single day, I would be revising the subject along with the test series, all the MCQs that I have solved related to that subject. Whatever new information I found, I would have collected it in a Word document, which I have already taken the printout, and I will be underlining the important things then and there only in that file, so that at the last moment, when you have to revise in 3 days, in your 4th revision, when you have to revise in just 3 days, you will just be going through these underlined portions even in that material that you have collected from the test series. So that way you will be able to complete your revision. At the same time, you will be focusing on those pieces of information which you think you might forget soon. So this way you will end up having a very consolidated and very strong preparation, where you have revised what you are forgetting more often, more number of times, multiple times, and you are very confident in your preparation, and you don't get confused in the exam hall. So this approach also you can follow, which is very important, and it will definitely bear fruits. Multiple revisions, we need to remember some of the important points. So now I want to give you some 3 main important tips that you will have to keep in mind before you go to the prelims paper. The first most important thing is the importance of the mock tests. So I cannot stress enough the importance of the mock tests. Do take them enough in number and also very seriously. And when you are taking your mock test, take as if it is a real exam. So right from the shading of the dots, you have to take it very seriously, because even shading the dot will consume some amount of time. And also, through taking multiple mocks, you will be able to devise a strategy for yourself as to what works best. I have seen 2 extremes of people. Some people who are attempting 100 out of 100 questions and getting nearly 30 questions wrong, and yet again clearing prelims. And I have also seen people who have been attempting nearly 75 to 80 questions with very few wrong, and they are also clearing prelims. So you have to figure out what works best for you, and the best way to do that is to give multiple mocks and then see for yourself what works best. For example, when I gave my prelims in 17 and 18, and even before that, I have been consistently scoring very well in the prelims exam. My scores have consistently been in 130s and 140s. So in the 2017 exam, when I got rank 194, my prelims score was in the 140s. I had attempted nearly 75 to 76 questions, out of which I had got 72 correct. So maximum I always used to get 3, 4 or up to 5 questions wrong, which means my strength was accuracy, and this is what I figured out by giving multiple mocks and then realizing for myself that accuracy is my strength. I shouldn't go for hazarding guesses and attempting 100 out of 100 questions, in which case most of them would be wrong. So I should stick to my strength and attempt less and aim for more accuracy. But this may not be the right strategy for you. It depends on person to person, and the best way to figure it out is to take your mock seriously and then find out whether the strategy of marking 100 questions is working best for you, or is accuracy your strength. So you have to do this without fail, because this is not something that you can try out in the examination hall by hazarding guesses and trying to attempt more, but then digging your own grave by ending up getting more number of negatives. So this is one thing that you have to keep in mind. The second most important thing is that multiple revisions. So even seemingly very common things, those things which are very simple and commonsensical things, you get confused when you're in the examination hall. That is the effect of the hot seat that you are sitting upon, that this is an examination which I need to clear at any cost. So you put in a lot of stakes there and you get confused over small things. And the key to avoid this is multiple revisions. When you go there, thoroughly revised everything and multiple times, you don't feel confused about the options that have been given in the question. For prelims, one thing that you have to remember is prelims is not about finding the right answer. It is about eliminating the wrong ones to be arriving at the right answer. So it is never about knowing and finding the right answer. It is just about eliminating the wrong ones. And for that, what is most important is multiple revisions and your presence of mind in the examination hall, that you can detect what are those things which can never be true and be able to eliminate that. So if you don't want yourself to be in a state of confusion and end up marking some negative answers, marking, so the best strategy for that is to go for multiple revisions. So this is the second most important thing, and don't think with just 40 days remaining, don't think of studying anything fresh, rather focus on multiple revisions, and that can only sail you through this exam. And third and most important thing is don't panic. So that is the most important thing, because if you panic and if you feel that what if you may or you may not clear, you have put in a lot of hard work. So what if you don't clear the prelims examination? It's a 1 year long cycle. If you take a lot of pressure about all these things, you are bound to make mistakes in the exam. So rather don't panic, just consider it as another mock. So you might have given already 20, 40, 50 mocks papers, and how was your mental frame while giving the mock papers? That similar mental frame you should have while giving the real exam as well. Your real preliminary exam is your just another mock and nothing more. So don't take unnecessary tension and pressure out of the exam. Don't panic, just relax. It is just another Sunday of your life, just another exam, just another mock, and definitely you will sail you it will sail you through. You will sail through it if you have revised multiple times, if you have done your basics right, and if you have given enough number of mocks. If you have sincerely done that hard work, definitely you will be able to clear the exam. All the very best. Thank you.